Welcome to the next edition of the Connor and Heffernan Show. My name is Mark, my co host Montana. We are here to kind of break down these divisional matchups in the NFL. Some really good matchups going on, interesting ones too. First game this weekend, we've got the Chiefs and the Jaguars. Jaguars are obviously rolling in on a very emotional win after being down 27 nothing. What an amazing game that was. Trevor Lawrence had 4 INTs in the first half. He comes back and he throws for over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns in the second. It was literally a split between two halves. Um, Not all of his interceptions in the first half were bad, though. Few of them were off of receivers' hands, which, obviously you should catch them if it hits you in the hands. They didn't. But I kind of want to touch on that game a little bit. What were your thoughts on that? It was quite the letdown from the Chargers because in no way should a team like the Jaguars come back from being down 27 and honestly win that game. Things looked so bleak.
The game looked done. I mean, the game looked done in the first half. I think the biggest thing that this Jaguars team has is they picked up steam towards the end of the season. They did not start the season with the greatest record, and they really didn't have the greatest regular season record, but they made it to the playoffs, rightfully so. I mean, they were beating my Raiders, they were beating the Cowboys, they were beating a decent Jets team. I mean, they were beating these teams in crunch time. They were beating teams when it mattered. Of course, getting that win against the Titans, that was just huge. That's what got them in there. So I feel like this Jaguars team has fight. And I think that this Jags team is better than what we even saw in that first wild card game. I think that this Jags team could potentially elevate their play and play better. Now, when they played against the Chiefs on November 13th, they only lost by 10 points, and the Chiefs were rolling. They were 7-2 at this time. And so, or maybe they were 7-2 after this game, but either way, they were rocking. Their schedule was they were looking pretty solid, and this Jags team had only won 3 games at that time, and they still kept it between 10 points, and it was a close game. So when we're looking at when they already matched up this season, it was a close game. The Chiefs came out on top, but the Jags were 1 or 2 mistakes away from making that a tied game. So I think we're going to see a heck of a game. And I don't think it's not a shoe-in. I'm not going to sit here and say I think the Jags are going to win 100%, but I'm not going to count them out. I think the Jags have a chance in this game. The Chiefs are great, but the Chiefs are not invincible. We have seen them have holes, and I think that this Jags team could potentially light that Chiefs defense up if they are playing well, and if Trevor Lawrence has those connections and starts like he finished the game against the Chargers. I think watch out. I think this Jags team is going to give the Chiefs a run for their money if they play their brand of football that has been positive. But if they start like they did against the Chargers, there's no way they're coming back against the Chiefs. The Chiefs are not a team that would blow a lead. Now they did last season. They blew a lead to the I believe it was the Bengals. So the Chiefs have blown leads before. I don't see them blowing a lead to the Jags. The Jags have to be on the gas the whole time if they want a chance against this Chiefs team. It's too high powered not to be like that.
Yeah, I agree. You can't afford to have 4 interceptions and give the Chiefs 4 free possessions because chances are that's not going to end well. The Jacksonville Jaguar defense is just not good enough to stop the Chiefs on a consistent basis. The Jaguars are almost going to have to solely rely on their offense. They are a 9.5 point underdog according to ESPN. So in order to at least cover that, they need to be able to go up and down the field. And I honestly think if Trevor Lawrence plays like he did in the second half last week against the Chargers, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars really do have a shot. The Jaguar defense has to get stops too, but I think if the offense stays, stride for stride with the Chiefs, I think they have a shot to potentially win it at the end. Talking about the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence had quite a turnaround season. Um, Last year his stats were pretty subpar. Obviously, that led to the Jacksonville Jaguars record where it was. Well, he comes back this year, 387 for 584, 4,113 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. His play alone helped this Jaguars team get to this position. They are playing in the divisional round when nobody was giving them a shot. Now, the question is, will they stay stride for stride with the Chiefs? Because it's really tough to do that. You said it. They have holes, but will the Jacksonville Jaguars exploit it?
My biggest thing is if Trevor Lawrence is on and that offense is on, they will, because this Chiefs defense, people forget that this Chiefs defense has not been rated. I believe for this season they are 22nd for passing defensive rating and 17th for rushing defensive rating. Usually Super Bowl teams are in the top 15 historically, but the Chiefs weren't in the top 15 defensively ranking wise when they won a Super Bowl. So the Chiefs defense has always been lacking. And in that respect, the Jags offense is that's their strong suit. They don't have a great defense. This very well could be an offensive battle. But if Trevor Lawrence starts the game like how we've seen, they're not going to have a chance. He has to start the game with their first drive, the Jags' first offensive drive. They at least have to get 3. I'm calling this right now. If the Jags can get in and at least get 3 in their first drive, I think they're okay. But if they go 3 and out right away against that Chiefs defense that is not super strong, I'm going to be worried for that team.
Well, yeah, and I just saw something on the injuries for both teams. Trevor Lawrence is listed as questionable.
Without him, that's it. That's the
Um,
game.
yeah, he was listed questionable 2 days ago, so he got a little banged up in practice. If he doesn't play, obviously that's going to affect things. They need him to be able to have a chance. They also need to be able to establish the run with Travis Etienne. If they can establish the run with him, I think they can sit pretty well. They also got to find a way to stop Travis Kelce, which is easier said than done. He's the best tight end in the NFL. If Trevor Lawrence isn't playing, it's going to be really tough for the Jaguars to pull it out. They've had quite a run. They won, I think, 6 straight games to get into the playoffs. So they ended on a really high note. It'll kind of be interesting to see if Trevor Lawrence plays, they've got a shot. If Trevor Lawrence is not going to play, I think you could probably kiss their season goodbye, because I don't know who is. Do you know who's behind Trevor Lawrence by chance?
I'm going to be honest. I do not know a lot about the Jacksonville Jaguars depth past the start, past a lot of those first string guys. So I'm not sure who's up, and that's a bad sign. The fact that we don't know who their backup is probably not a good sign for them, because most teams that have notable backups will be successful, but I don't think Jacksonville has a notable backup at all. I'm looking it up right now because I'm going to be honest. That's what I have to. I don't know. Tyler Huntley. Oh
Tyler
no,
Huntley?
that's not him. That's the Ravens one. It's not even showing. That's
Yeah.
a really bad sign. That's not even showing up. The Jacksonville Jaguar quarterback is apparently a Ravens quarterback. Jacksonville.
Unless the Ravens traded Tyler Huntley over to the Jags.
Here we go. This might be who it is. Former San Francisco 49ers quarterback CJ Beathard, I think is how you say it. I'm not sure. He started 12 games in 4 years with the 49ers, and he has only thrown
Oh,
2 passes in his first 2 seasons with the Jags.
CJ Beathard, he played for Iowa.
So that's not great. He's thrown 2 passes in his 2 seasons. They've not needed him, luckily, because they have had Trevor Lawrence. That's a good sign they haven't had to use their backup.
Yep.
But I don't know. Good. that is not the guy to get it done. So they need to have Lawrence. If they do have Trevor Lawrence and they don't have CJ, I think that they have a chance. If they have CJ, and again, he goes out guns blazing, I mean, they do have offensive weapons. They've got a former Raider, Zay Jones. Zay Jones had a really nice season with them. I mean, they do have weapons that can potentially show up. It's just, I
Yep.
think you need that Trevor Lawrence connection as well. But prediction wise, for this first game of this divisional card weekend, I'm going with the Jags winning by 3 if they have Trevor Lawrence. On the flip side, if they don't have Trevor Lawrence, I have them losing by 14. So it's kind of a flip, but if they do, if the Jags win, I have it being a 3-point game. I have it being let's say 24 to 21. I have it being 24 to 21, and I have the Jags coming out on top if they have Trevor Lawrence. If they do not have him, though, I have the Jags losing by at least 14.
That's not a bad pick. My pick today, whether Trevor Lawrence is playing or not playing, it's still going to be the same. I've got the Chiefs winning 37-21. I honestly do think the Jaguars are going to get off to a little bit of a slow start today, which they obviously cannot afford. I think they fall behind a little bit early. That Jags defense is not going to stop the Chiefs. I've got the Chiefs 37-21, and they roll into the AFC Championship weekend.
It's very possible. We could very well be sitting here talking about the AFC championship and the Chiefs could be in there. I think I mean, when you think about it, it's really theirs to lose. Even though this Jags team rightfully made it to the playoffs, it is the Chiefs' game to lose because of who the Chiefs are and the success they've had. And the Jags have not even been in the playoffs consistently. So when you think about it, I mean, the Chiefs have that right off the bat. But looking at the next game, we have the Giants and the Eagles, which will be the second game that will take place this Saturday. And first of all, I mean, Giants had a really impressive wild card win over the Vikings. I don't know if anyone really expected that. I think that people kind of forgot how good the Giants were because they started out really strong. They did have a great season throughout. They wouldn't have made the playoffs without that. But in my personal opinion, some of their stronger performances were earlier in the season. I mean, they had some big wins, but they dropped a game to the Eagles in December. They dropped a game to the Vikings in December. So I feel, and then they dropped another game to the Eagles. So they didn't have the best month of December, and that honestly kind of made me lose hope that they would have that successful of a playoff experience. But they beat the Vikings in a pretty solid game. I mean, that was a solid wild card game, 31-24 against the Vikings. So when you think about it, I mean, the Vikings were looked at as one of those top tier NFC teams. So the Eagles, while they are 14-3, maybe they're not as big of a roadblock to the Giants as they may have been before because they just beat the Vikings, which is a team that can go pound for pound with this Eagles team. So when you look at this game, what are your initial thoughts when we look at this Giants Eagles game? Do you have the Eagles running away with it, or do you think it'll be a close game?
I think it'll be close because they just played on January 8th. The Philadelphia Eagles won 22-16. It was a 6-point game. So I honestly think the Giants have a little bit of a game plan to keep this game relatively close. And as we all have seen, the Eagles, they've kind of sleptwalked through a few games. So it's kind of hard to say. It just depends on, what Eagles team shows up. Yeah, they're 14-3. Yeah, they're 7-2 at home. Yeah, they're obviously a great team, but they lost to New Orleans 20-10, and New Orleans is not a good team. And that was on New Year's. You barely pull out a win against the Giants a week after that. And then obviously they lost to the Dallas Cowboys. So we'll see. And I guess, back on the 11th of December, they played the Giants and they absolutely rolled. So it depends on which team shows up. If that Eagles team that only won 22-16 on the 8th shows up, I think the Giants have a shot. But this Philadelphia Eagles team is kind of funny because they kind of get into some of these games and nobody can stop them. I still have the Eagles winning, though. I think the Eagles are the more complete team. The Giants are good, but I don't think they're anywhere near ready for this. Give me the Philadelphia Eagles 34-21.
I like that. No, I love that, man. That's honestly that's the safe route to go because again, this New York team, while they have surprised us in a good way for the most part this last season, I just don't even their last game against the Vikings, I would say people would take that as at least somewhat of a surprise. Not Giants fans, they will say they knew that was going to happen, but NFL fans were pretty surprised. That was a surprising win. But I would say that, I mean, this Giants team is great. If Daniel Jones shows up, they've got a pretty decent shot right off the bat. I mean, he had 300 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Vikings. He was 25 to 35, not no 24 to 35, not bad. I mean, a really solid performance. He's not the most elite quarterback. At least he's not considered to be one of the elite quarterbacks. And he played really elite football against that Vikings team. And then again, he also had 78 yards rushing and was averaging 4.6 a carry. So, Daniel Jones played great. Saquon Barkley had 2 touchdowns against the Vikings. So when you look at it, I do think that this offense is high powered enough to stay up toe to toe with the Eagles. But what is going to happen is this Eagles team is more complete and they'll finish the game. So I
Yeah.
have it going toe for toe, touchdown for touchdown for a while, but I absolutely have the Eagles coming out on top. I have the Eagles winning by only a touchdown because I do think this Giants team will give them for a run for their money. And we've seen this Eagles team sleepwalk. Not really. They stayed on the gas pretty much the whole season, but we saw them have some sleepwalk performances. So if they have a sleepwalk performance and have a slow start, which I can see happening, I have the Eagles winning 28-21 against the Giants. But this is not the last time we'll see Daniel Jones in this Giants team. They are a force to be reckoned with.
I think that they're going to continue to get better. I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in that division. No, it it would definitely help the Giants out quite a bit in terms of possibly even winning the division, maybe even getting a better playoff seed. Um, Again, time will tell. With the Giants, I don't think that they're ready for this big a moment yet. I think they will eventually, but I don't know. This could be a Bengals type story from last year. They could be that team. So again, we'll have to wait and see. I still got the Eagles today relatively comfortably. Let's kind of transition over to the Bills and the Bengals. Obviously, a few weeks ago, they had a very tough moment with Damar Hamlin, had to perform CPR on the field. Damar Hamlin is now at home. Praise God that he's back at home because it looked very bleak for a moment. Now they are playing the Bengals again. So they're going to be doing it all over again here. If they would have been able to finish that game, it would have been a really good game. Neither team was going to pull away. I think both teams were going to be going back and forth. It would have been a very, very back and forth type game. Because both Josh Allen and Joe Burrow were playing very good football toward that point in the year. Well, we've got them here. The Bengals are going to Buffalo, which is going to be a very tough environment. Right now, ESPN has Buffalo slated as a 5.5 point favorite, which I think that might be a little bit high. I honestly like the Bengals in this one. They are a little bit more consistent than the Bills. I think the defense is going to get stops. And the Bengals offense, I think, finds a way to keep it rolling. I honestly think the Bengals have a little bit of this unfinished business mentality to them after last year. Give me the Bengals today in a close one, 24-21. Bengals get a late field goal at the end to pull it out.
Okay, no, I got. Hey, I'm gonna be honest. A lot of these divisional games are going to be really nice and really close. I believe. I think. I mean, I haven't picked one more than a touchdown difference so far because that's how close a lot of these are. But like you alluded to with the Bills, the problem with the Bills are well, first of all, Josh Allen had a he had 3 touchdowns last game, but he also had 2 interceptions against the Dolphins. That is not going to cut it against the Bengals. He is not going to be able to throw 2 picks up against the Bengals and come away with a win. He has to play a way better game than he played against the Dolphins because again, the Dolphins are a fine team, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not the Bengals. The Bengals are a solid, established Super Bowl contending team, and you can't do that. And Joe Burrow didn't have all the touchdowns, but he didn't have the interceptions either. He had 1 touchdown in his wild card game, but he didn't have 2 interceptions. He only had 1 touchdown. So it doesn't matter. And 215 yards. It was a successful game. It was a really, really successful outing. That Bengals team, of course, with Lamar Jackson out, that Ravens team may have been a tougher opponent, but still, I think I still think that the Bengals would have came out on top. So I think this Bengals team, like you alluded to, they are hungry. People forget that they were the team that was just in the Super Bowl. They are that AFC team that was just representing the AFC, and they are that team still. If anything, they are even better. They are a team that I think has more fire and they have that experience. And the fact that Burrow has that Super Bowl so early in his career, it doesn't matter that it's a loss. He has that Super Bowl. So that's something Josh Allen has not been able to say quite yet. So I do think this Bengals team has a lot of pieces and parts where they are the team that I think should be looked at as they've got a good shot. But the Bills have one of the most talented teams overall in the NFL, in my opinion, this season. They were one of the best teams without a doubt. They are a top 5 team overall in the entire NFL. But again, that's regular season. This isn't regular season anymore. This is playoffs. It switches. It's almost like it's 2 different seasons. If you make it to the playoffs, you're 0-0. That's it. You have a whole new slate out there. So again, this Bills team, I think they're the more talented team, but I'm a little concerned they're not going to show up. And I'm going to be honest, I do have the Bills pulling it off. But I have it being in the end. I have them going on a late drive in the end, scoring a touchdown, and then sealing it with a field goal. So I do have them coming away with a win. I have them winning. I'll take them. I'll take them. I'll take them winning 30-21 over this Bengals team. But this is not the last time we'll see the Bengals if they do get bounced. I think this Bengals team will be in the talk for the next few years for sure in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, for sure. What Coach Zach Taylor has done with this Bengals team in his first couple of years being a head coach in the NFL is absolutely incredible. Because before last year, the Bengals hadn't been in a Super Bowl for 30 plus years, which is kind of crazy to think about. And Zach Taylor had the Bengals in the Super Bowl last year, and they were pretty close to pulling it off against the Rams. They showed up pretty well against the Rams. The Bills side of things, like you alluded to, Josh Allen cannot throw 2 interceptions today or tomorrow, excuse me. He cannot throw 2 interceptions tomorrow and expect to be successful. It also depends on how the Bengals defense lines up against Stephon Diggs. If they can defend Diggs, Diggs has 1,400 yards receiving this year and 11 touchdowns. If they can find a way and limit that, the Bengals definitely have a shot tomorrow. Question is, will they? The Bills probably top to bottom have one of the more talented rosters like you alluded to. But the Bills have also been a little bit more inconsistent. They were pretty inconsistent against the Dolphins, still found a way to pull it out. You know, you have a Dolphins team dead to rights and you let them get back into the game. I think at one point the Bills were up 17-0. Would I be correct with that assumption? I think I
Oh no,
am.
yeah, they were up big, and then
Yeah.
that's the
So
problem with
I
this
think your
Bills
mic was
team.
muted, but I got your reaction. Yeah, they were up 17-0. The Dolphins were dead to rights and everything looked bleak. And the Bills defense and the two interceptions allowed the Dolphins to come back. And the Bills had to kind of put it away late. They can't afford that performance tomorrow. This Bengals team is way too good. Joe Burrow is on fire. It's going to be interesting. I really do like the Bengals.
So yeah, I mean, I totally think 20, it could be a really close game. I think regardless of who comes out on top, it is going to be a close performance. But, I think that's a good prediction. I've got to give it to the Bills. I think they'll pull it off. I know that they need to play better than they did against the Dolphins. They can't choke or blow a lead because the Bengals will eat that up. We saw that against the Chiefs last AFC. So, I've got the Bills winning 30-21. I've got them getting that late touchdown, and then I also, to make it 28-21, and then I have them getting that field goal. So, I think, third, well, maybe I don't know. We'll see. I guess it'd be 21, something like that. But again, I can see them not getting that field goal as well and only winning by a touchdown. So they're either winning by a touchdown and winning 28-21 or 31-21 after a late field goal. But it'll be a good game no matter what. And then our final divisional game, arguably I'm the most hyped for this one. I think this is going to be the most exciting one because this is a rivalry game. We have seen so many great matchups. Cowboys versus 49ers. I'm not a Cowboys guy. I think me and you could have both used them not being in the playoffs at all. That would have been fine. We would have been okay with that. But we're getting this great matchup, 49ers Cowboys. What are your initial thoughts on this game? It'll be tomorrow evening's game.
I think it's going to be a good one. Dak Prescott and that offense is finally starting to go. He played very, very well up against the Buccaneers last week. And then on the other side, the 49ers. Obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo is hurt, but Brock Purdy has done an amazing job. I don't think I can say it any less. He has done an amazing job coming in and starting. The question is though, Brock Purdy is still very young. When is he going to have that moment? When is he going to have that, game where he makes a mistake or two mistakes? I think this game could be that game. The Cowboys have a really good defense. They are really good on offense. Brock Purdy cannot afford to make any mistakes on the offensive side of the ball. Albeit, the 49ers, they are very good at home. They're 8-1. It is a very hostile environment for any team that goes in there. And you've got the Cowboys who are 4-4. So the Cowboys are 500 on the road. So if Brock Purdy shows up, I really like the Niners in this one. It's going to be a very, very close. I think it's going to be a pretty ugly game. This has the makings of a 17-14, 20-17 type game. It's going to be very gritty, and I think the Niners are just good enough to pull it out today or tomorrow. Excuse me, tomorrow night. 20-17 is my pick. 49ers win.
Man, you're reading my mind over here. We're on the same page 100%. We've got this prediction down without that's the same. I've got 2017, the Niners on top as well. I don't think it's going to be that's a decently good scoring game. It's better than that one Super Bowl with the Rams and the Patriots. What was that, 10-3, something like that?
Yeah, 13-3.
Just come on now. We don't want to see that. We want to see an actual full-on game. But anyways, and I think everyone was sick of seeing the Patriots in the Super Bowl as well. As just seeing that was enough. So again, super low scoring games aren't exciting. 20-17 is not super high score. It's by no means high scoring, but it's a pretty middle of the road game. And I think that this will be a battle, but I do have the 49ers coming out on top because this 49ers team is, in my personal opinion, especially with that addition of McCaffrey, they are the best team in the NFL now this season. I would say regular season they were by far, they had their ups and downs, specifically with Garoppolo. I think the fact that Garoppolo is out is actually the reason that they are as well off as they are. I think Garoppolo is not that guy. I think that we talked about we were talking, I think it was the last episode of season 1 about Debo, and we're like, is he going to stay? He needs a better quarterback. Well, here is his better quarterback. Here is the better fit. So the one thing we can both agree on is Purdy has not had that one game because it's coming. I'm hoping that he can have that game and they can still win. But if he has that game against a team as high powered as the Cowboys, if he has his first really not good game, the Cowboys will eat that up. And I'm going to be honest, I did not have them. I don't know about you, and give me your thoughts on this actually right now. Did you have the Cowboys blowing out the Bucks like they did? I did not. I did not think they were going to do what they did to the Bucks.
I absolutely did not. I thought it was going to be way closer. I thought that had the makings of a 24-20 type game. Um, Obviously Tampa Bay is a very, very hostile environment, and the Dallas Cowboys went in there and the Bucks couldn't do anything. I feel bad for all those fans that dropped all that money on those tickets because
Oh my,
man, they did not get a good
they dropped a
showing.
bag on those probably, and that was not worth it in the end. What was it, like
Like
36 to hold
30
on.
it it was let me pull it up here. It was 31-14, so the Cowboys won by 17 points.
I will say the Bucks did have their moments because there were points of that game where they were, I don't even know if they had a touchdown yet, or the Cowboys right away. The Cowboys jumped on that game right off the bat. Again, I've been struggling because it's like, did the Cowboys just have that good of a game, or was it just the Bucks were not that team? It goes both ways. For me, I think it's a little bit of both. Dak was coming off of throwing picks consecutively in his last few games. Dak looked not good in the end of the regular season. With the way Dak looked in the end, I was like, the Bucks are going to jump on that. They are not the same team as the Cowboys. They don't have that talent, but they are a more established team that has won more playoff situations in the last few years. But it didn't matter. I mean, the greatness of Brady, that team, it was just not that team. And this Cowboys team jumped on that. And I think this Cowboys team is the real deal. I don't want to discredit them. I just don't think that they can beat the 49ers. I think if it's toe to toe and they go head to head like we both think they will, the 49ers will come out on top because they have been a more consistent team. Even though Purdy is younger, I know we can't really say this quite yet, but I'm going to go ahead and say this. He's already a more consistent quarterback than Dak, at least currently. So I think this 49ers team, it's not their game to lose, but I think this whole season is theirs to lose with all the players they have, all the talent they have, the historic team that it is. It's their season to lose at this point. So I've got the 49ers on top, but unfortunately, as annoying as they are, and we don't want to say this, I'm sure we'll see the Cowboys again because they absolutely have elevated it within the last few years, their play style and where they're at.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely have elevated themselves as of late. Um, Cowboys cannot afford to sleep in this one, though. Dak Prescott has to pick up where he left off last week in order for the Cowboys to have any sort of shot whatsoever. If Dak Prescott throws 2, 3 interceptions today,
That's it.
that's it. I don't think I don't think there's going to be any way to come back from that. The uh the 49ers are just way too good. They've got a really good defense, they've got a really good offense. Obviously Brock Purdy needs to have himself a good game too, which he has an opportunity to because that Dallas defense does have holes that you can exploit. I think we're going to see a lot of Deebo Samuel. I think I think he's going to be a tough guy to stop. And then obviously, the Cowboys have all sorts of their weapons too. It's going to be a very, very good game. But I think it's going to be lower scoring. 20-17 is my prediction for that one.
And I'm fully with you on that. I think there's no way that this could be a higher scoring performance unless one of the teams has a really bad game, because these are evenly matched teams pretty much pound for pound going down the stat line. They're pretty evenly matched organizations, and they're usually on top of it, especially come playoff time historically. So I will
Yep.
say both teams have choked as of recent in playoffs, but historically these are two teams that when it's playoff time, they're ready to go. So I think this is going to be, again, I'm with you, 20-17. We share that prediction without a doubt, because I don't see it being a higher scoring game. If anything, it'd be a lower scoring game. On the flip side, maybe it's down by just a little more, 14-17, but I don't think it'll be quite that low scoring.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Um, Obviously, we'll have more um, to talk about as far as NFL goes, especially once we get into championship weekend. Then we're only 2 weeks away from the Super Bowl after at that point, which is kind of crazy. We're approaching the end, man.
This season
Uh,
flew by, man. I remember it was week one, just like it feels like it was yesterday. It was week one. It's crazy how fast this season went by.
yeah, absolutely crazy. So yeah, we'll keep touching on things as far as the NFL goes, especially once we get into championship weekend and Super Bowl weekend. I kind of want to transition and kind of finish up on this. Nebraska football recruiting has been absolutely on fire as of late. They just picked up a couple of key transfers from Georgia. An edge rusher and MJ Sherman, borderline 5-star transfer portal recruit. And then they picked up 5-star tight end from Georgia. And the tight end, Eric Gilbert, is an absolute monster. 6'5", 248 pounds. He was the former number one tight end in the country in the 2020 class. He originally committed to LSU, and he ended up winning freshman of the year, I think, at LSU. Had 30 some receptions for 364 yards. I think he had a few touchdowns. So pretty good season for a tight end. He is a big target. And again, it was a position of need for this offense because they've got Thomas Fidone, who happened to be the number one overall tight end in the country in the 2021 class. And he hasn't shown up yet. He's gotten hurt each of the last couple of seasons. So having two real good tight ends on your roster, I think is going to be good, especially if they decide to run a two tight end set on offense, which I think they're going to do a lot of because they're going to be running the RPO quite a bit. And then we talk about edge rushers. Edge rushers is a position need because, obviously the pass rush for Nebraska has not been great as of late. MJ Sherman is looking to come change that. 6'2", 250 pounds, number 33 player nationally in the 2020 class. He committed to Georgia in 2019. Really good ball player, and he's got real high football IQ. Both of these players from Georgia that Nebraska picked up just got caught up in the deep roster that Georgia has. You look at Georgia's roster and it's 4 5-star players. They're stacked. There's a reason why they won 2 straight national championships. So these players are just going to a place where they can play. Nebraska is that spot, and I think they can make an immediate impact.
Absolutely.
Nebraska, yeah. What are your thoughts on those two guys?
I mean, Okay, again, I've been that cynical. I don't think this is real. This is real, man. This is real. I mean, we are getting these recruits and these transfers and these players because of the staff we have. We would not have gotten these players had we had Frost. Now, here's what I'll say. I want to backtrack because Frost didn't do a terrible job recruiting at all. But I just think the reason we are building this hype now and getting these players that matter now is because of the coaching that we have and the coaches that we're getting, not just the head coach. Rule is great. I'm super hype, but it's the whole staff. It is that whole group. There is something special going on in Lincoln, and these players are seen. These transfers are seen. These recruits are seen. It's very obvious that something is building, and if these players know they can go to this place that has been struggling and have an instant impact and become that Georgia type team that is top tier. Are we going to get there right away? No, but we could very well be in the playoff picture by the time they get to that 12 team. Is it 12 teams or 8 teams? Is it 8
12
teams?
team. It's
12
gonna be
teams.
a 12 team.
Bro, we're gonna be there before you know it. We are absolutely gonna be there before you know it. Even if we're that 11 or 12, we will be there before you know it. And that's what these players know, and that's why we're getting these players. That's why this hype is really building now throughout, because it really is real now.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you were alluding to, we would not have picked up these recruits if Frost was on staff still. That's just a testament as to the job of what Matt Rule and his staff are doing right now. They are giving these players hope. They are obviously really good developers too. Frost was not a good developer. Not a
No,
whole lot of his players have gone to the NFL, especially here at his time in Nebraska. Matt Rule has sent a lot of kids to the NFL, built up some really good ball players at his time. He's going to pick up right up. He's going to pick right where he left off at Baylor. And he's going to do a lot of the same stuff here. And he's got more stuff to work with here in terms of obviously now it's NIL. People can make players can make money off of their name, image, and likeness. Nebraska is towards the top of the NIL game. Obviously, they've got a new facility that's opening up here this spring or summer. Some
man.
$300 million facility, which is going to be top notch. One of the top ones in the country, which is going to help with recruiting. They have everything going for them right now. They are getting these players. They're not focused on, rebuilding. They are looking to win now. They are looking to win now. They want to get things rolling here because they see how special this place is, and they are selling that to these kids.
Gonna make all the difference.
It'll make all the difference in the world. It's a wonder, what it would have looked like, having a head coach going out there and recruiting these players. Scott Frost never did that. You never saw pictures of him in a player's living room snapping a picture with them for an in-home visit. I have seen probably about 100 of those with Matt Rule. Matt Rule is all over the place. He is wanting to get this place back to where it should be, which is right at the top.
Absolutely. I mean, you didn't see that again. The thing that's unfortunate is it's not that Frost didn't care. Obviously, he did. He just didn't really. I don't know. He just was not the guy for the job. He was not the guy for the job. And while we did get some decent recruits under him, he was not good at recruiting and he wasn't good at developing. So, like you've said, I mean, this is the best possible scenario for this Husker team. I think this last season, no matter when they would have fired Scott Frost, would have ended up the same. The writing was on the wall because of that staff and because of where we were at with all that. So it wouldn't have made a difference. It wasn't an awful season either. There were plenty of pretty fun moments this last Husker football season. So I really think that the post-Frost era is really, really bright. And Matt Rule is building something special in Lincoln that I can finally sit here and say I trust it's going to get there, because I've been skeptical, but it's hard to be skeptical because there's just a different vibe already in that entire
It
organization.
it
Entire
feels
team.
It feels completely different, man.
A whole different team. It feels professional. It feels it feels like an organization almost. It feels like a professional environment. It actually feels like a real team and a real staff. And I think the fact that that shows, and it's not even spring ball yet, and we're already seeing that is crazy. We're going to see so much keep coming out before the football season starts. We haven't even seen all of it yet, and it looks so much more promising. It's just insane. It's night and day difference.
Yeah, night and day. Like I think I've mentioned this before. I was excited when Frost got hired because he was the top pick for most anybody, obviously. But I was kind of skeptical, especially after his introductory press conference, saying that he hopes the Big Ten adjusts to him. Well, they adjusted to him, and that led to a 16-31 record. So you don't hear Matt Rule saying any of that. Matt Rule has a really good head on his shoulders. He is a very smart guy with a high football IQ. And obviously his staff is the same way. He he has filled his staff with some very smart, very like high energy people, which this program needs people that are high energy. Keep the players going. Keep the players going to get better every single day. Even if it's, 1% better than the day you're before, you're still getting better. Kind of pushing that drive into these players because we don't have bad talent. You got to develop that talent though. The talent that we have can get Nebraska a Big Ten championship at least. It can get them to where they're in the top 10 vying for a playoff bid. It's We're right there. We just need to have that coach that gets these players into the next gear. Because it seems like they were stuck in fifth gear all this time and they need to get up to sixth.
Yeah.
So I think this is the staff to do that. Because Frost didn't he never took accountability for what was going on. He was constantly dogging the players. He dogged them quite a few times after some, heartbreaking losses. And I get the players have to go out and do their job, but the coach has to put them in a position to succeed. And Frost didn't necessarily do that.
No, he didn't do it at all. I mean, at all, I would say, honestly. I just think he got caught up. Honestly, I'm kind of curious what his time like in Nebraska was, the things we didn't see. I feel like there was a lot of wasted moments and wasted time that he just didn't take it serious, I don't think. I mean,
No.
I think of course he took it serious, but the level a coach needs to take it serious, he didn't take it serious. I
No.
mean, he was just riding on the fume back in Nebraska, back in his college hometown. I'm curious if there was a lot of distraction being back in your old college hometown. I'm really curious. I think there's some things that maybe we don't know, or maybe we assume that went on that aren't the greatest. Just distractions. So it's good that he's out of there. I think everyone wishes it would have gone better, but everybody is happy that we're in a new era because it finally feels like the
It
next.
feels like a fresh start.
Yeah, it's a fresh start. It's the next era of Husker football. We're finally going to get back to at least making bowl games, making Big Ten championship pushes, and making freaking college football playoff pushes. Let's get our boys back to where we belong. Nebraska is not a team that should be winning 3 freaking games a season. We are a team that should hold it at 6 to 7, no matter what, every season. Six is too little, but if we can at least be, we need to at least be a team that can hold 6 to 7 wins like it's nothing, like we used to be.
Yeah. Have 6 or 7 wins locked in by,
That wasn't a
week 9.
Yeah,
Like,
that wasn't a 6, 7 wins used to not be a big accomplishment, but we haven't even reached that. So it's like just having that be the basement. Let's make 6 to 7 wins the basement at least again.
well, and that's kind of what I'm, looking at right now. I think the ceiling of this team is going to be really high. I think their floor is 7. I think they get to 7 relatively comfortably this next year.
Agree.
Um, there's no reason why they should drop below 7. I think 6 is too little, like you were saying. 7 and 5 at least in year one would be incredible. And then you're talking next year, you might have Dylan Raiola committed, number one overall quarterback and prospect in 2023, 2024. Um, and you talk about getting him, you give these recruits some hope. Recruiting floodgates are going to open.
You know, you'd be locked in then. You'd get just about anybody you
Yeah,
wanted.
Nebraska would get most anybody, especially wide receivers who want to come play with Dylan Raiola. And you're probably looking at talent that Nebraska has never seen probably since the mid 90s.
Without a doubt.
So again, it's exciting. It's a fresh start. Everybody has a fresh energy about them. I kind of want to finish up one more. Georgia player is favorited to transfer to Nebraska. 4-star offensive guard, offensive tackle Jacob Hood, 6'8", 342 pounds, an absolute monster of a human being, and obviously a pretty good player in his own right. Is slated, has a crystal ball to Nebraska. Obviously, he has to get committed and enrolled in school because school starts on the 23rd. So we can expect an answer here pretty soon. Because I think Jacob Hood wants to get into Nebraska for the spring, wants to perform in all the spring football stuff so he can kind of build his name. He has multiple years left of eligibility. He is a freshman.
Man.
So if they can develop this kid, he is a potential high draft pick in the NFL towards the end of his career. Obviously, we will have a lot more to talk about with Nebraska as we go through spring football and enter into the summer camps and stuff like that. So we'll keep touching on them each and every episode if something comes up. Um, do you do you have anything to finish up on, or?
No, I mean, I think that this was a great episode, and like you've said, we'll have more as we go. Obviously, you know, NFL football is wrapping up, but we'll always talk a little pro football. But as you know, as pro football wraps up, college football news and college football will be just ramping up. So we'll have really college football heavy episodes even during that off season because there'll be a lot more movement that happens. So, you know, be looking out for that. And then also as we move into more, you know, NHL and NBA seasons are picking up. So, you know, be looking for more NHL and NBA topics coming up within the next few episodes because those seasons are ramping up. But for this episode, I mean, we're all good. We hope you guys enjoyed another great episode, being able to talk sports with you guys. And again, always remember, you guys are absolutely welcome to DM the Connor and Heffernan Show Instagram or message the Facebook if you have any topics you want us to talk about. We love coming up with these shows and these lineups, but there's ever anything our listeners and our viewers want to see us talk about, let us know. We'll talk about really whatever. We love talking sports no matter what that means. So you can always shoot our inboxes and let us know what's up if there's anything specific you want to hear us talk about.
Absolutely. Obviously, it's always a pleasure, putting these podcasts out for you guys. We appreciate you guys for listening, and we will see you next time.